Hello, welcome to video number 1 of this new series, HTML and CSS for absolute beginners, kind of like me. In this video, we're gonna code a very simple, very first web page, nothing fancy, and then maybe set up our code editor. And in this case, we are gonna use VS Code or Visual Studio Code that's free to use and free to download. And we're gonna use one extension called Live Server, but we'll see that when we get to it. So let's start. So let's create a new folder. Let me close this. We create a new folder. Here, new folder. And we are gonna name it whatever you want. I'm gonna name mine my coffee shop, because that's the name of the coffee shop website we're gonna build across this entire series. Every video we're gonna add a little more to the site until by the end we have a complete styled multi-page coffee shop website. So inside this folder we are gonna create a new text document, and we are gonna name it index.html. Careful not to name it .html then .text. It's only .html. We changed the extension so the file might not be recognizable by Guadalajara, but we want it to be the file extension .html so the browser knows what it is. So yes. And it changed the little icon to a Firefox because it's my default browser. All right. View like it was list. So, and the name matters. The name index. So I see I named it wrong because it's so small. Index.html. The name matters. Index.html is the default file a browser looks for when you open a folder as a website. And this, I just said, is important. A folder. This folder is going to be, we can visualize it kind of like the website, because inside of it, it will contain all the main pages. It might have images and styles and JavaScript and whatnot. So we will treat this as our website, and our browser looks for the index. So I will open with edit in Notepad. I will edit it in my Notepad before open it with VS Studio Code. Okay, so here we are on index.html. And what does HTML stand for? It stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Hypertext Markup Language. And the keyword is markup. We're not writing instructions for the computer to calculate something. We're marking up text, wrapping pieces of content in tags. And remember this keyword, tags. that tell the browser what the content is. Like, example, tags tell the browser this is a heading, or this is a paragraph, or this is a link. The browser reads those tags and decides how to display everything. Like a tag might be P, and then our closing tag P, and then this is a paragraph. This will be read by the browser as a paragraph. We'll see how it works a bit later. Okay, so let me delete everything. So let's start with the skeleton every HTML needs. So we start with this, and then doc type HTML. This first line is not really a tag, it's a declaration that tells the browser, hey, what will be here is a modern HTML document. Every HTML file starts with this. And then after that, everything in our page lives inside. We're gonna do this, and I'm gonna put the closing one from the get-go, and then HTML, and the closing tag HTML. So everything will be between those two tags. The tags can take parameters inside. Like, we're going to do this lang is equal to en, and this key value pair inside the tag tells the browser that, and the screen readers, that what we are writing inside is in the English language. So inside these HTML tags, it's going to be the content of our page, and every page has two main sections: head and body. But we are going to wrap them in these angle brackets. How are they called? And body also. VS Code will give us a lot of tools that has built in that we just type body and automatically puts this little angled greater than or equal, greater or less than. Where was I? Body. Yeah. So we'll see it in a bit. When we get to the VS Code, we just type head and boom, puts this autofills everything. But right now, we're doing it manually. I am doing it manually for educational purposes. And then usually these are indented. So this head pair of tags will hold inside information about the page, things that we don't see up directly on the page itself. Page title, character encoding, links to style sheets that we'll use later on. The browser tab text, for example, comes from here. So one that we always use is this meta char set equal, let me use UTF-8. This tells the browser that the character encoding we are using is this UTF-8. And this covers basically every character we'll need, and including accents and emojis, etc. Let me just change this to double quotes because I am not sure if in Python we can use single or double, but in here I am not very sure. We could Google that. Okay, another thing that we use on every web page is this other line. This one I will just copy paste because I am too lazy to type. And let me see. Yep. So this one matters for mobile devices. It tells the browser to match the page width to the device's actual screen width. We'll come back to this property when we talk about responsive design. But this is very standard to include in every web page. And then last one, and these are, now I know how they are called. These are called angle brackets. Title, close, and then we close our title tag, and inside here, my coffee shop. So this is what will show up on the browser's tab. So now outside the head, we have the body tags. And this is where everything visible on the web page goes. Everything we actually want a visitor to see lives in here. So let's add our first real content, and we'll use a headings tag. 1, 2, 3, 4. I am manually doing the tabs. H1. And the tabs don't matter. We could have used everything aligned here, but visually, so it's a little bit organized, I am doing this tab. Head 1, my coffee shop. And then let's close this. Header 1. So it will display this text, and these H1 tags tell the browser to display this as what a browser calls a header, which is a little bit bigger, and I don't know if it's bolder. I don't know. We will see it in a bit. And this come from H1 all the way to H6. The H1 means more important. So let's add a slightly smaller one before we go on to open this in Visual Studio Code. Cozy corner for coffee and pastries. Well, now that we're at it, let's in the habit of open and closing, and then putting what's gonna be inside. Welcome to my coffee shop. We roast our own beans and bake fresh every day. Open daily from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. So this is it. We now have a complete entire first web page. So let's see it. Save, close. So if I just open this and double click it, it will display it, but the URL is a place in my drive in C, users, my name, etc. No? So this is where Firefox and the plugin comes in. So let's open Visual Studio Code. And here we go. This is let me close this and let's open a folder. And we go to desktop and my coffee shop. And here is our index file. Let's look at it. So here is, and look how in VS Code it looks a lot nicer, right? Because it color codes the tags and the content and the key value pairs. And like I said, if we just type P, it auto does the angled brackets. Hello world. Hello world from the, well, we'll change some things in a bit. So let's download a file extension, the one I was mentioning. We come to this icon and then on the top, on the search bar, we search for live server. And the first one, it pops out with 74 million downloads or stars, I don't know. 74 million downloads. By retweak day, we click install. So there, now it's installed. So what this does, it gives us this little button. We push that and server is started at port 5500. So now let's open this in a browser. This is Google Chrome. So since this is already in the live server, we can here go to localhost colon 5500. And here it is, our coffee shop. So instead of typing the localhost, I just realized that you can right click and then open with live server, and this sends it to a browser. but this is the default Firefox. So for this, I will be using Chrome. So let me just refresh here. So now just to illustrate how this live server, if we open, we add a new paragraph and then say hello from another paragraph, and then Control S to save. Here it automatically updates, and then here in file it has autosave. I will click here, and then for example, if I remove this, see, deletes it, because after every change it saves automatically. So that's it for video number 1. We set up the live server, we wrote our first HTML page, and we mentioned what each piece of this skeleton does: the doc type, the HTML tag, the head, the body. Okay, so next video we'll expand on this page. So thanks for watching and see you on the next one.